Remember the first time you discovered social media? It was a cute novelty, a way for you to connect with friends and family and keep up with them without having to give them a call or drop by and visit. You post once, maybe twice a week. It feels good to express yourself online. Eventually, 2 posts a week turn into 10 posts a week. 10 turns into 50, 50 turns into 500, 500 into 5,000, where you now post white replacement theory videos and talk about how we have to repopulate the earth with white children fast if we want to save the planet and culture. Somewhere along the way, you even start to believe that white people will go extinct in a few generations, and that terrifies you. You are not the same person you once were. You've been reshaped by the social media diet you now consume. This isn't what happened to me, thank God, Jesus Christ. But with the proliferation of far-right nationalism into our culture and politics, too many people fall down this rabbit hole, the most famous being the richest man on earth, Elon Musk. My name is June Sternbach.
My name is Josh Borman.
This is Ill-Conceived, a podcast about natalism. So, Josh, I think we have an announcement. We have a little announcement. This show has been deemed one of the main arms of Antifa.
Fuck.
Yeah, no, we're gonna have to deal with the fallout with that. But aside from that,
is that why Trump sent the National Guard to Chicago? Is it to go get you?
They're trying to find the people that are talking about natalism. Okay. It's a big problem for them right now. Hopefully they don't go to New York because you might be next with how things are going.
It's possible. I mean, I to be clear, I have seen those pictures of the Texas National Guard guys, and to me, okay, I know I am not the first person to make this joke, or make this observation, rather. But don't they just look like the guys from the Bill Schwarzsky's Superfans sketch on SNL? Duh, Bears, right?
Yeah,
you know what I'm talking about?
Yes, they do. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, let's be real. It's like just the average American. It's just like the average doofus in this country is being sent up to this state. That is, I mean, that's the whole target audience for who they're hiring for all of this. So
I just think it's very important that they keep the Bears at Soldier Field to give all those National Guard guys something to do, right? And maybe, just throwing this out there, maybe if you offered them tickets, just like complimentary tickets to Chicago Bears games, if and only if you desert. Right? Then we might be onto something. I'm just saying.
It's like that Kylie Jenner, I think it was, that Dr. Pepper
with the Pepsi.
Or the Diet Pepsi commercial.
Yeah.
Where she handed like the police. Yeah. And it was like, wow, world peace.
Right. I mean, if the Bears were putting a better product on the field, I think that would be a more appealing offer. But, you know.
Yeah, it might not happen this year. But you know what's happening today and not next year, Josh?
What?
The world famous mailbag segment.
Again?
Again, it's happening again
on
today.
This podcast?
It's your favorite moment.
Shit. It is my favorite moment. And I actually picked the letter from the mailbag to read, so I don't know why I forgot.
You look stunned.
I actually, this is true. I got like 2 hours of sleep last night. I can't remember if I told you this, but I'm doing personal training now.
You did.
I'm trying to become a buff boy.
Get that T up.
That's right. Be a high T alpha male. And I have not actually like lifted weights in my entire life, so I'm learning everything from first principles, basically.
Oh wow. What are you benching right now?
Oh, the bar? And that's it?
A solid bar. You're doing
a solid bar,
whole solid bar lift.
And what is
Someone
that?
Spotting you.
Yeah, that's what, 40 pounds, 45 pounds, something like that? Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of a lot, I guess, yeah.
It's not, but thank you for the support.
Who am I but to offer support?
But
at any given chance.
Absolutely, and I appreciate you for it. And I'm sure you'll appreciate this piece of listener mail here that we got from Mark, who says, "Hi, Double J." Okay, that's fun. That's
good.
Look at you. Look at what you did there. I'm from the UK. Please don't hold that against me. And when I was at uni, I shared a hall of residence, basically a dorm, with 3 kinds of people: dealers, homosexuals, and then in parentheses, me, and Christian Union people. The Christian Union is a social club within colleges and universities connecting Christian people at uni now that they aren't at their home churches, and they are the weirdest group of people I have ever met. They would routinely meet in our common room. Ours was one of the bigger ones, and I was exposed to a lot of secondhand weirdness, including the breathtaking amount of barely contained horniness that existed. This is a group of young people without any supervision, and from the outside, it had a similar energy to the minutes leading up to a deeply regretted orgy. And the much older youth leader guy who would drink beer and hang out with them, who emitted a catastrophically high level of nonce particles. The oddest thing that happened, though, was when I went shopping with one of my hallmates for a formal event we were both going to. I was looking at suits, and they were looking at the dresses that were incredibly frumpy and unflattering. And she was a lifelong ballerina and dancer, and she was stunning, but did not know how to dress herself. I eventually convinced her to try on a dress that would A, fit her, and B, not make her look like a matron to a group of Victorian ghost children. And she looked at herself in the mirror as if she was looking at herself for the first time in her life, cried, and immediately bought the dress. I ran into her many years later, and it turned out that event was the one that got her to question her relationship with her faith. She admitted that the Christian Union was basically an organization to simultaneously convince young people to totally divorce themselves from their own bodies and pair them off as quickly as possible so they could get married and have kids ASAP. She is still religious, but has a much healthier relationship with it and herself. Just thought I'd email to say that the odd relationship that Christianity can force onto young women is not exclusively a U.S. thing. Mark, thank you so much for the email. That's a really wonderful story.
We've talked about all these different ways that evangelicalism is like forced upon these kids very young, and it makes them not really experience or want to live a life of their own other than just having children, getting married. So it's like having that sort of self-affirmed like moment, actually being happy with yourself makes you question a lot of things, I can imagine. I mean, it's a very similar experience to being trans in some ways.
Well, I was good, because that was the thing I was noticing, like with your body especially. The subject line was that time I gave gender affirming care to a cis woman. But like, I do think that there is something to be said about the way that this type of approach to the body is all about teaching yourself to ignore what your body is telling you and what your body wants, right? Yeah. Because it may well be that your body doesn't want to pump out kids every 10 months, basically. Yeah. But that is, again, not what these people want. They want reliable baby mills, essentially. Yeah.
Not everyone has to have children even, obviously. But in this world that these evangelicals want us to live in, that would be like a sin. Like that would be looked down upon, I imagine, in some of these cases.
Well, yeah, because as a woman, you would be putting like your own needs for your own self and your own body ahead of the desires of your husband. And your husband, in this framework, usually is like desiring to plow you 24/7 with the intention of making more babies.
Yeah. On the topic of the UK, though, there's a lot of weird groups in the UK that I don't remember any of them off the top of my head right now, but I've been...
Tommy Robinson can eat my fucking nuts, dude.
Yeah.
I hate those fuckers.
I can't believe that he's just sort of normalized, and this sort of correlates with the topic at hand today that we're going to be talking about, where people like Tommy Robinson have been normalized by the topic of today, Elon Musk. In specifically the UK, Tommy Robinson, I don't know his whole history.
Yeah, but he's done a lot of really awful shit. But, he loves England. And at the end of the day, it's not dissimilar from MAGA, right? Where a lot of these, fucking MAGA dipshits also have a rap sheet a mile long. But for some reason, they don't care about the criminality when it's one of theirs. That's unsurprising, of course.
And of course, Elon Musk loves boosting up online any chance he can get this Tommy Robinson character.
Yes. And many such cases. A lot of other similar guys who are just, I think, rhetorically nasty. They're nasty. I don't know why I'm locked into Trump brain right now. I think it's because of what's going on in our country.
Yeah. And the sad fact is there's a lot of Trumpisms that are like many such cases where he's just like said things that are just like earworms.
He nailed it with that.
Sadly, the evil fascist guy is kind of funny sometimes.
Many such cases, I'm afraid.
Yeah. But yeah, so no, we're going to be talking about Elon Musk. And of course, I feel like when I was writing this episode, I was like, oh, here's yet another episode of another show talking about Elon Musk. But I think this one's going to be a little bit different because, of course, the temptation, of course, is to typically talk about Elon Musk in regards to Donald Trump's administration, like his time in Doge in the early days, or just like how he was acting during the campaign, or like Tesla and like, you know, the Tesla protests and the Cybertruck, which we're not really going to be covering any of that today.
No,
that's for a different show.
Definitely. I think that there are a lot of people and shows that are far more qualified to speak on those matters than us.
Yeah.
So I would direct you toward the work of, we've already called them out, but 404 Media. They do great work. My friends over at Trash Future, I think they do really good work.
Check out this little known show also, Kill the Computer.
Oh, yes, I've heard of them.
We just did an episode talking about like Baby Grok, all of these different aspects of his work. But today we're going to be talking primarily just about his relation to like natalism and white replacement theory. He's a bit of a dabbler. He dabbles in that one. And we're going to just sort of explore all his relationship to all of these things because there is massive crossover, sadly, among white replacement theory and natalism, especially in this like far right community of figures we're going to be sort of exploring.
Yeah, turns out Elon Musk has a lot of opinions on the birth rate. It's a real bugbear of his.
It's an odd one because I feel like I didn't really notice it until like halfway through his time at Doge. He, while blowing up everything, would just randomly start posting about how he finds the birth rate to be the biggest concern for the future of humanity and civilization. And so when I noticed he posted like twice about it. I was like, that's strange. So I decided to like search his profile, and he's posted hundreds and hundreds of times about it and also done interviews talking about these things.
Well, and I remember the thing that got us, you and me, talking about this in the first place was that article that you wrote and I edited, which was basically just a thesis saying, in order to understand the Trump administration, you have to understand their obsession with natalism.
Yeah.
And we found a whole bunch of examples of Elon Musk being extremely fucking weird about this shit. And as I recall, at that point, Elon Musk was still in Trump's good graces and was in the process of destroying USAID and the Institute for Peace and like all of these other organizations that Project 2025 had on their kill list for a really long time.
Absolutely. He was going through those systematically, chopping them up. Yeah, that was where he was at the time when we first sort of noticed his relation to the birth rate and his obsession with it.
And it also was one of those things too where it's like, wait, this doesn't quite seem to fit. Like what does this have to do with gutting these institutions? These seem like unconnected things, but this is very clearly maybe the cornerstone of this guy's ideology. What is going on here?
And you're right. The way he was sort of demolishing USAID, they've completely dismantled it, which was a program. And, you know, there's a lot of controversy around it in terms of like, all right, this is essentially U.S. soft power in a lot of cases, the way that it is used as propaganda. But there's actually useful things in it, like family planning distribution in different African countries and, you know, just different things like that are like objectively decent things. Not everything with USAID is propaganda, but it is interesting that the primary way that the U.S. helps other countries, especially non-white countries, was very quickly slashed entirely by Elon Musk, which, as we'll get into, he doesn't really like non-white people very much.
No,
not really.
You can take the boy out of South Africa, but you can't take the South Africa out of the boy.
There's always a little bit of apartheid in him. He started talking about like the birth rate. So I was like, oh, this fucking makes sense. He's walking the talk. He has famously started over the last like decade or so, started to create a dynasty of Musks.
Yeah.
You know, it's always been like a sideshow, him having a bunch of children, but he has like an astonishing amount of children. He has had 14 kids.
We know of.
That we know of. There is probably more. His first child did pass away, sadly, very tragically, but he has had at least 14 children with at least 4 different women. And I think, with a lot of cases in the new world of tech, the new type of tech bro that is leaning towards like the far right, I feel like there is this type of guy now is really sort of obsessed with the birth rate. And Elon Musk is just like the best example of this, especially in how he has children, because there are other people in his cohort that are doing this sort of thing, having a lot of children. And I think what's really interesting too is that he is no longer really in any of the women's lives that he had these kids with, and he doesn't really have a relationship with any of them. The two most famous of his kids are, of course, Vivian Wilson, Elon Musk's oldest child, who is a trans woman, and the other child, which I think I do not know how to fucking pronounce.
The kid's name is X.
Yeah, the one known as X, the one he brought up around like during Doge and everything.
Yeah, that's his human shield that he carried around with him so that he wouldn't get capped when he was. Yeah. I'm not even. I do. He said
that, right?
That was. Did he? I don't know if he did or not. But like, this is something that is infamously well known about him. Is he is constantly worried that he's going to get assassinated, and I think there's some validity behind that fear for somebody who is like at that level of notoriety and has that many enemies.
Yeah. So Ashley St. Clair, who is someone that I believe works with the company involved with Babylon Bee, Ashley St. Clair had this child with Elon Musk. And she came forward with it because he stopped paying attention to her. He stopped paying child support, didn't even really want to be in the life of the child at all. And of course, as a parent to a child, I mean, that sucks. That fucking sucks. And it's the richest, most public man in the world. He's a very powerful man who hit her up through Twitter, like Twitter DMs. That's how they first met, as Twitter DMs, essentially.
It's so fucking sad. Like, it just for all parties concerned, this whole thing is such a fucking shambles.
And that's the thing, like with the kids, is like it's really sad the way that he treats having children and the people that have his children. It's like he uses them exactly how I think outlined on the show a lot, is like they're just like a baby mill.
Yeah.
But so the death threat one. So it was a little bit after the Donald Trump assassination attempt, where he sent texts saying, "I get credible death threats every day. I'm number 2 after Trump for assassination. Wake up. This is not time for sentiment at the expense of safety. If I make a mistake on security, Romulus will never know his father," which Romulus is her and his baby, which is an awesome name, I gotta say.
Here's the thing, and this is just a fact. Romulus isn't getting to know his dad either way.
No, it's just not going to happen. Just like most of the kids that he's had, they're just never going to know him. He doesn't really care very much. The only time he ever uses a child is either as a political pawn or to make it seem like he's a good father, in the case of X, the child X, not the app X. God, he's so fucking lame. God damn. But the way that he clearly doesn't really care about his children, and the way that he just wants to use women as a baby factory, I mean, it illustrates very clearly what he thinks the dynamics and the roles of the father and the mother are, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that it definitely speaks to the idea of the patriarch, right? And that great patriarchs throughout history have all the kids, right? Mm-hmm. But there's also, I think, something grounded in certain ideas that have, shall we say, a eugenic component to them.
Yeah.
This idea that you have a superior genetic structure of some sort, that like there's something about you as a biological entity that will produce superior stock. Mm-hmm. And so that you are doing your role, you are doing your part by contributing to humanity by using your superior DNA and contributing that to a larger and larger portion of the gene pool. Because if I recall correctly, he said that he wants to have like 100 kids, right?
Yeah, that's why, we know of 14. There's probably more. There is that. I think she's a financial influencer on Twitter. Again, another person on Twitter. I think her name was Tiffany Fong.
Yes.
She was posting a lot, and Elon Musk started to reply to her and started to like flirt with her. And then Elon Musk, a couple of days later, unfollowed Tiffany Fong.
Right.
And people were like, did something happen? And she basically came out and said, he wanted me to have his baby, which is fucking crazy.
And he said legion level, right? We mentioned that earlier.
Verbatim legion.
And a legion is 4,200 infantrymen in a legion. So he wants to have, sorry, I misspoke when I said hundreds. He wants to have thousands of children.
Because the thing with Elon Musk is he means this literally.
Yes.
He doesn't just like metaphorically mean legion.
No, he does not.
When he says things, I think for most of the time, he genuinely believes full-throated the things he says or believes and purports to believe, as crazy as some of these things are.
Well, I mean, you say crazy, but when you're that rich, and if you have the kind of character he has, which is to say none, you're going to surround yourself with yes men, and that means that you're never going to have anybody telling you no. So you say, yeah, I want to have a literal legion of children. Yeah. They're going to be like, yeah, bro, go for it.
And then when a woman denies him a crazy proposition that he often seems to send to people, he melts down. He can't handle it.
Yeah, how dare you decline my seed?
Yeah, no, he does. I do think he thinks he has like a superior genetics that needs to be as widespread as possible. Yeah.
Which, echoes, again, some certain ideological movements that have existed, particularly in Western Europe in the beginning to mid-20th centuries, shall we say.
And interestingly, he's endorsed the AfD in Germany, which is
Alternative for Deutschland,
another far-right movement, which is not a coincidence. That's not a coincidence at all, that he is very intent on trying to get them into power. And, I want to bring it back to this is like mostly a sidebar, but this is something I've been thinking about for months now. I feel like not enough people are talking about this. The way that he intentionally, I think this is my theory. He intentionally goes out of his way to have only male children. So he has had, as far as we know, 14 male children at birth consecutively. That's, 14 in a row. That's a 0.02% chance. That's a 1 in 5,000 chance for 14 male children in a row. That's
with
unreal.
Numerous different women, right? It would be one thing if it was all with the same woman. That would also be very unlikely. But again, there's sort of like, there often are patterns where you get families where it's a shitload of boys or a shitload of girls, but for it to be through numerous different women and for them to all be boys, clearly they are selecting implanted embryos very early on in the process. They're testing for sex, and they are aborting those pregnancies. I would imagine pretty early on if it doesn't turn out to be a boy. Or another possibility is that there are girls who have been born, but he doesn't claim them.
He thinks there is a superiority in having male, especially because that will continue his last name, his gene pool, his family line in that way. And he is also quoted from Ashley St. Clair, again, of course, the mother of his most recent child, as texting her this: "There has never been a competitive army composed of women." And you, pulling back to the legion thing where he wants to create a literal legion, I think he thinks of it quite literally as like a wartime legion. He is
Absolutely.
Even calling his children an army. That's just, I can't comprehend the state of a mind to think of your children like that. That is an absurd way to think. It's all utilitarian. It's not actually love. There's no actual reason to have kids other than the purest level of like the utility of it.
Well, and if you're investing as much into your kids as Elon Musk does, there's no fucking way any of them are going to call, meet your call, right? When you call for your legion. In order to command a legion, you need to command respect. You know what I mean?
Which, as far as we know, he does not have the respect of a single child or any of the people that had his babies.
I don't think he has the respect of a single human being, if I'm being completely fucking honest. Other than some of the weird, I think he has Ian Miles Chong's respect, maybe.
Cat turd too, yeah.
But that's a net negative. Having the respect of somebody like Ian Miles Chong, I think that would offset having the positive respect of 10,000 people.
Absolutely. He's not batting a high average on respect in this world at this point. but I think I think we're digging a little bit into the weeds of like his children and all of these things. But I feel like it's sort of important to outline the way he views like continuing society and like having children, the way he views all of this. He often talks about it.
What is your biggest fear?
Well, I think you have to say, like, what are the existential threats that humanity faces? We spent a lot of time talking about the birth rate thing. That might be the biggest single threat to the future of human civilization. Then there's, artificial intelligence gone wrong is a big concern. I think religious extremism is a concern.
What is your biggest hope?
My biggest hope is that humanity creates a self-sustaining city on Mars.
I'm just so upset that we are all forced to take this man seriously. And the problem is that, like, dogpiling on him, it's like saying, yeah, that 6-year-old's ideas of like what we should do in the future are stupid.
yeah, because it's a 6-year-old. That's
it's like, why are we making fun of a 6-year-old? But the problem is that it's a grown-ass man who is wealthier than anybody in the history of human civilization. And it breaks your brain when you start to think about it too much.
Yeah. I mean, most of his business model and making money, the way he does it is basically saying there needs to be many things we do in the future, and I'm doing those things. That's why I need to have the most money in the world,
right.
Is why he talks about all of these different things. I don't think he truly believes anymore, at least, that we're going to be on Mars, you know?
Oh, I think he does. I think he does.
You think he does? Maybe I give him too much credit.
I think he has such a child mind that he genuinely does believe that it's going to happen. Or maybe not that it's going to happen, but that it like should happen, in that there is a feasibility of it happening, if not in his lifetime, then shortly thereafter. And therefore, it is necessary to continue along that trajectory. Because this is the other thing maybe that I think about, particularly the whole having all of the kids thing. Right?
Yeah.
Is that this is such a strange way of looking at the future, because you're not actually thinking about what will people's lives be like? What will the world be like? How do we establish something societally that provides for people's needs? It's simply saying, well, we need more because there's going to be more and it's going to get bigger. And because everything's going to be bigger, we need more guys. And I need the most guys because I'm the big guy.
He's the big boy, yeah.
He's a big boy.
And it sort of, whenever he talks about like, oh, we need to be on Mars like soon, he always cites the thing that the sun will make Earth uninhabitable.
In like a billion years.
Yeah, very long ways away. And like, I'll be so real. We'll be lucky as a species if we're along if we're still around. Most species do not last that long, just at all.
We'll be lucky if we make it to the end of the century.
Yeah. So it's like he is thinking way too wide on an issue that we're not even close to needing to solve yet. It's quite literally a billion years down the line.
It's the difference between real thinking and magical thinking, I guess.
Right.
Where rather than trying to conceptualize problems and solve them, you're being like, I'm going to think of an even bigger problem. What's the biggest problem I can solve? And it's
the
like,
sun.
Exactly. And it's like, well, you can't solve the sun.
Like, that's just the inevitability of the universe at that point.
Right.
Like, there is an inevitability that we can, as humans, cannot control.
And also, like, thinking about that possibility doesn't make you special. Like, fucking Galileo was doing that shit.
I also thought about that when I was 15, and I was really deep at the time, too.
Right,
yeah.
right.
Yeah, no, see, so just before we move on too far, though, in that clip in particular, you'll notice the two things in particular that were big concerns from him were the birth rate and AI gone wrong. And we'll get back to that one a little bit later. But before we move on from just the way that Elon Musk has children, I have a list for you today.
A list?
I have a list. And this is I
thought you'd never. Just for me?
Just like the inevitability of the heat death of the universe, there is the inevitability of a list on this podcast.
That's right.
So I have a list of the names. And normally, I don't like making fun of children. I think that's below adults. I don't think I'm being very clear. I'm not making fun of these kids. I'm making fun of Elon Musk's capacity to name children.
Yes,
so we have
correct,
the list of all the names of Elon Musk's children. And this is, of course, just to outline just how dorky he is and how, I don't know, he's just a fucking crazy guy. His very first child, which again, sadly passed away, was Nevada Alexander. Second, Vivian Jenna Wilson, who we'll be getting back to again later.
But that also, he didn't come up with that.
He did not come up with that
So
name.
that's a very normal name.
It's probably the most normal name on this list. And her being trans plays a massive factor in the paranoid turn that Elon Musk has had politically, which also ties into the birth rate topic for him. So we'll be getting back to her later, but she is Elon Musk's current oldest child.
Oh, okay.
And then after
that we know of.
That we know of. Could be more. Could be. And then after Vivian, we have Griffin, Kai, and this is when they get a little weird. Like Griffin, Kai, somewhat normal.
Sure.
Saxon, Damien. Again, Damien's pretty normal.
Okay, sorry. Saxon.
Yeah.
As in like white Anglo-Saxon Protestant, perhaps. This
thinking
feels
that too.
ethnic to me.
Yeah, I was thinking that too. The same sort of connection there with Saxon in particular. And then this is when it gets really fucking goofy. So the next after Damien is X. I don't even know it's X, but how do you pronounce that? Do you know?
It depends on the language, but it's A, but it's like the glyph that is A and E combined into one letter form.
Yeah, X, A, Z, something like that.
A or A12 maybe, if it's XII.
Oh, A12, that has to be it. I bet you that's it.
So X, A, A12?
I think that's how you say it. So I'm just gonna, you got it. That's perfect. And then after X, we have Exadark Side Rail.
Okay. Now these are the kids that he had with Grimes, right?
Right. And we can't let her off the hook for these either.
No, I think she had something to do with this.
Yeah, I agree. The X and Y. And then the next child is Technomechanicus.
Come on.
Yeah, that's just like, come on. I feel so bad for these kids. And then,
but also half of them are going to trans their gender, and the other half are going to change their names for other reasons. So it's fine.
I love a gamble. I would gamble on at least half of these children either turning out trans or changing their names legally, just because they're like, look at the list here. And then after Techno, we got Strider, Sakar, Sirius.
After techno, we've got House. And after House, we've got Trans.
And after that, we have Azure, Astra, Alice.
Azure's an okay name, I guess.
Cute.
I think that I would have so much more respect for him if he just named each of the children subgenres of electronic music.
Yeah. What would be your first? What would be your go-to genre if you had a kid?
I would name my child Acid House.
No, that'd be sick. I wouldn't change my name if I was that kid. And then we have just rounding off this list, we have Arcadia, we have Selden, Lycurgus, and then as we previously mentioned, Romulus. So kind of again another bad batting average,
pretty bad
for names here. So I have some tweets here that from Elon Musk about just how obsessed he is with the birth rate. You're clapping. You look excited.
Can I read these?
yeah, you absolutely can.
Doing my best to help the underpopulation crisis. A collapsing birth rate is the biggest danger civilization faces by far.
That's a good Elon voice.
There is nowhere to go. This election is a verdict on civilization. If civilization fails, nothing else matters. That is why I bought this platform. Being
Twitter.
Extreme birth rate collapse is the biggest danger. It's sort of slipping. It's becoming something weird. I don't know what's going on here. Extreme birth rate collapse is the biggest danger to human civilization by far. And then we've got one where we've got, why don't you read what this is a reply to? Because somebody quote tweeted Elon Musk's infamous "Let That Sink In" post after he acquired Twitter and posted a very funny picture of himself carrying a sink.
Wow. Yeah,
a kitchen sink. Get it?
Very clever.
He's so funny.
So then she says, 2 years ago today, among the most consequential decisions in tech, business, and modern political history. No, I'm not being hyperbolic.
I would have preferred to stick to cars and Mars, but it was necessary to safeguard civilization.
So he has like a very, he is very high and mighty about, buying Twitter, but just his view on like the future of humanity. He thinks he is, by doing everything he's doing, saving humanity and saving civilization. That's how he views basically his whole political project as of like 2022.
And, his station is very high, right? Like just by virtue of his platform, by virtue of the things that he owns, he is very powerful. But it's kind of weird to me thinking about just how much wealth he has and being like, wait, this is what you're doing? This is what you're doing with those I just thinking about, again, it's like all of these things are things that everybody else has done. But it's like, you could single-handedly like rebuild the entirety of any creative, oh my God, it just,
it's disappointing that the
pearls
dumbest
before fucking swine.
No, it really fucking sucks that the richest guy in the world is this fucking guy. Like he could be doing so much, like, not a super consequential thing here, but he recently was like, oh, we're going to be in a year with XAI going to be making the first AI video game. And it's like, you have enough money to fund every single game studio in the world, but yet you want to do AI video games. Oh my God.
I think speaking of video games, the single thing that makes me angriest is that his favorite game is Deus Ex.
That's a good game. I've never played it.
It's my favorite. And that's why it makes me so angry, because he doesn't deserve that game. And also, he thinks he's J.C. Denton, the protagonist, but he's actually Bob Page, the villain. He lines up with that motherfucker 1-to-1, and he is someday going to end up dying while floating in a vat of fucking electroconductive goo, just like Bob Page does in Deus Ex.
Helios! Icarus! Don't leave me!
It's really a shame that people like Elon Musk will just like, they never will realize that they are not the protagonists of these pieces that they think are depicting them. They are not the protagonists. It's a shame. But also just, I think puts a bullet in the idea that watching the right media won't predict like good politics always.
Yeah, I think there's other things that we could put a if you ask me, but that's getting cut.
Yeah, I felt the temptation, but okay, I'll segue us into the next portion here. I think it's very clear that Elon Musk cares a lot about the birth rate. It's one of the things that keeps him up at night, as he has previously stated. And it took me a long time to sort of piece this together, but I do truly believe the reason he is so anti-trans is partially due to like traditional transphobia that we do see among the right today. But I think a lot of it stems from his idea that the birth rate will cause the collapse of society. He has tried to have as many boys as possible. And I think, the fear of as the right calls it, gender ideology. Elon Musk places a lot of value on having boys, having a legion of men that will like expand his family line, expand and have even more children, which is like sort of the quiverful way of thinking, right? Where you will have 20 children, and your 20 children will have another 20 children, and go down the line.
Like we talked about in that one article from that weird like self-published Christian magazine.
Yeah.
But the thing is, in terms of just the science of genetics, it doesn't matter if it's a man or a woman.
No.
At the end of the day, if you're reproducing, you are still passing on the bloodline, right? Like the DNA will continue. It doesn't matter which half it's coming from, but this is where the science is secondary to the ideology, which is strictly patriarchal.
Something you'll see a lot of transphobes and Elon Musk say when a trans woman decides to transition is that they're castrating themselves, that they are destroying their reproductive health, that they are no longer able to have children.
And to be clear, this is not necessarily true.
No, not at all. Trans women and trans men can both still have children.
Right.
You can. It is very scientifically obvious that is still possible. There's many methods for trans men and women to both have kids still, but that doesn't really matter.
Including in many cases with the standard biological process of sexuality.
Yeah, no,
you
absolutely.
can do P and V.
And it's transitioning does not destroy the capacity. I don't exactly know where that started, but that's been like a long myth that it destroys the capability to have children. It just doesn't. But that's one of the overarching narratives from the right, is that it does. And that's why it's bad. That's why they need to stop people from being able to transition. And you'll see, so Elon Musk was very publicly pro-LGBTQ as well. People have dug into old posts of his and from Tesla as recently as like 2019 and 2020, 2021 of him posting like, wow, yay, we love gay people here. We love LGBTQ rights.
And it's hard to know how much of that is just a function of sort of the cultural moment. Right?
Yeah.
Where there was sort of back in the days of woke one, obviously, and back when Tesla was still a woke brand, there was a lot, I think, of cultural alignment that he kind of had to perform. And not to mention that he wanted to keep fucking Grimes, right? So
Yeah.
I don't know how much of that was like deep held, true personal belief, but it is very jarring to compare. Like his brain got fucking cooked.
Yeah. His brain very clearly got cooked around the same time he started making that very public turn to anti-wokeness, towards the far right, towards his turn against LGBTQ rights. And at 2022.
That was around the same time that Vivian came out, right?
It is basically the same year that he bought Twitter. That was the same year that she came out to him.
Which was also the same year that Grimes left him. All of these things happening at the same time. Hey, everybody, Editing Josh here. Just a small correction. Vivian actually came out to her father in 2020, and that was because she needed to start hormone replacement therapy and needed to get parental consent in order to do that. 2022, on the other hand, was when she actually legally changed her name in an attempt to completely sever her relationship from Elon Musk, and that is exactly what happened. It's worth noting in the Teen Vogue interview where she describes the process of coming out, she describes her mother as being very, very supportive and Elon Musk as being considerably less so. I also just wanted to read a quote here from that interview that I think really describes her view on what happened. It's such a convenient narrative that the reason he turned right is because I'm a fucking tranny, and that's just not the case. That's not what that does to people. Him going further on the right, and I'm going to use the word further, make sure you put further in there, is not because of me. That's insane. Someone's Twitter profile is not who they are in reality. Your perception of someone is a very small glance of what they're choosing to let you into. To judge everything a person says or someone says online as what they really believe is dumb. I haven't talked to him since 2020. And that was almost a half decade ago at this point. Thank God. Thank you also to the listener who pointed this out. Normally we just do corrections in the next episode, but this one felt important enough that I wanted to just get it out right away.
So there is heavy correlation here that his oldest child transitioning really like shook him to his core, because think of it from his perspective. He's trying to create a legion of men, children of his, that will carry on into the future, expand his dynasty. He thinks of this as a dynasty. So his oldest child transitioning probably felt like a betrayal. It felt like the world was crumbling underneath him.
And you also have to think about this in terms of his own male model in his life, his own dad, right?
Yeah.
I'm sure you've read the stories about Elon Musk's dad and what a huge fucking piece of shit he is, right?
Yeah, if I remember correctly, Elon Musk's dad had a child with like a cousin or some like very close relative.
Yeah, no, actually it was, he had a kid with his stepdaughter. He got married, a stepdaughter that he raised. So he got married to this woman, Heidi Bezuidenhout, I don't know, a Dutch name. And she brought another kid along with her into the marriage. And that was a kid who Errol, Elon Musk's father, ended up raising, essentially, was abusing her as a child. And then later on, they ended up getting married and having a kid. It's
awful guy.
Deeply fucked.
Awful guy raises another awful guy, unsurprisingly. Turns out to be an awful dad who cannot accept that he had a child that transitioned, and in his mind cannot go further to increase the birth rate. He thinks that's the end of the line there.
Right. And I think so much of it too for Elon is, I mean, he hates his dad. He's gone on record time and time again to be like, he was a horrible fucking person, right? And this is like the one thing that I have sympathy for him about, is that it sounds like his childhood was genuinely a nightmare because of this man. But what he ended up doing with that, and maybe it's just the fucking hurt people thing, he took away from this that he just needed to sort of outperform his father, it seems, because his father also had a lot of kids.
How many do you know off the top of your head?
I think 7.
Okay, I mean, that's a lot. That's more than, way more than average, especially even at the time. That's way above average. And he did not have a good role model. And if I had to take a guess, again, I don't truly know, but I don't think Elon Musk's kids will really think very fondly of his father. He repeated the same cycle.
Except for X, maybe.
I feel like he's going to grow up and be like, why did my dad use me as a political pawn?
I think so.
I cannot imagine that will go over well once he gets to an older age.
Hard to know. I mean, that's the other thing, right? Is I cannot begin to imagine what being in that environment would be like.
Yeah.
I just can't fathom it.
Me either. Yeah, I don't know. Elon Musk has a very strange chip on his shoulder about what children should be or can be to a person. And I think the way he has reacted to Vivian, he constantly dunks on her, dead names her, misgenders her publicly all the time. So horrible, horrible father.
Dead names her, and as we said, I think in the last episode, claims that she's dead.
Yeah. Which
Literally.
He has a child that passed away. He doesn't say that about that child. He has a child still alive that he calls dead. Absurd.
That's so fucking...
He has once talked about also that he thinks that social media back in like 2022 in Woke 1 era.
Wait, 2022, this is sort of the waning days of Woke 1. Woke 1 is basically dead at this point, actually.
Yeah, Woke 1 sort of started 2019-ish, maybe actually as early as 2017, like the first Trump administration, which ended, like the 5-year period, 2017. Let's say we're putting it down. We're putting a timeline.
5-year reign of woke.
Yeah, 2017 to 2022. So the end of the woke era, he said that he thought all of social media at the time, before he bought Twitter, was Marxist propaganda. He believes that this Marxist propaganda is turning people trans, it's turning people gay, it's doing all of these things. And at the time, I don't know if you remember this, but in 2022, Babylon Bee, the account on Twitter, the comedy...
Very funny account. Yeah.
Very funny account, got suspended over a joke where they misgendered someone that was in the Biden administration. Her name is Rachel Levine, trans woman.
Right. Yeah, one of the most senior people in HHS at the time, and one of the highest ranking trans people in the federal bureaucracy ever.
So they got suspended for making that joke. And Elon Musk took it upon himself to make that a priority. I do think it heavily informed him to buy Twitter, because he was like, this is Marxist propaganda. It's killing, in his mind, free speech, because the most important thing with free speech is being able to misgender people. So I think that's why he bought Twitter, to take control of the information ecosystem. And we're seeing that play out a lot right now with TikTok. Of course, Twitter is the perfect example. CBS, all of these different things, the right is making a massive play to take over the information ecosystem, to try to stamp out, in their minds, I don't think it'll work, of course, but they're trying to stamp out wokeness by force in that way.
Yeah, and we've said this at many points in this show, that this is a project of control.
Yes.
And in this case, a project of narrative control, where there are certain narratives that they cannot tolerate being propagated. And so they have now taken it upon themselves to basically capture any force within the private market that would make the sort of woke narratives and propagate them out into the world. It's wrongthink. They can't allow it. They cannot abide it, because they see it as not just contrary to what they want, but also inherently destructive.
And it also furthers the thought that they have to control of course, all thought, but their children's lives and education.
Yes.
It goes
Yes.
back to what we were
Yes.
talking about a lot in the homeschooling episode, where they are even fearful of people learning about things that do not fit along with the world as they feel it should go. If they don't want people to learn about being trans, or maybe having a thought that they don't need to have children, because that goes against their life, like their actual natalist, white nationalist project.
And I think that's a really good point, too, that, we would certainly see it as it's something that goes against their ideology.
Yeah.
But they would see it as this is something that goes against fundamental reality.
Yeah,
right?
or humanity in Elon
yes.
Musk's case.
Yes, that these are things that are not just wrong and morally abhorrent, but they contradict the fundamental principles of reality on which we all stand, right? Mm-hmm. It would sort of be like if I was really, really hung up on flat earthers, right? Because they are propagating something that is just factually untrue. And if I saw in the media more broadly, like let's say that every day there were a whole bunch of people going on TV and talking about how the earth is flat, I would then not want that to happen, obviously, because that is just not fucking true.
It's not real. It's not reality. Yeah.
And so you have to understand it from that perspective. It's not something that they want gone because they disagree with it. It's something that they want gone because they think it's not fucking real.
And that's sort of the interesting thing with Elon Musk in particular. And I feel like with most of the shows so far, we've sort of talked about the religiosity of these movements. But he's really sort of the first person I think we've talked about that is doing this from a purely secular perspective. He doesn't think it's immoral because it goes against God. In his case, what he thinks is it goes against reality. It goes against humanity, which is a much different perspective. And I think that's what makes it a little bit more dangerous in some regards.
And it should be noted, of course, that most of his fellow travelers in this movement are going to be Christians, but there is this unholy alliance that has developed, and I do mean unholy very literally here, where they have the ideology in common, and so the justification they use for that ideology doesn't really matter as long as their purposes are at unity with each other, which they are.
There, and it's sort of reminiscent of the Evangelical Catholic Alliance in the 80s.
Yes.
It's another one of those alliances, an alliance of convenience. I think it's time to outline the white replacement theory, the white aspect of this, the white nationalist aspect of this, because I think him talking about the race element of it, because he is constantly talking about the race element of this, the white nationalist element of this, is the primary way he instills fear among the right and as many people as possible to bring his ideology to reality. We have been talking about white replacement theory for a long time, but I think the quickest way to outline what white replacement theory is it's primarily a white supremacist talking point that there is some unknown, powerful cabal intentionally trying to increase the non-white immigration to historically white nations to make them a minority white nation.
Yep.
And like Josh, I'm sure you're thinking, like, what's the evidence of this? But of course, there is no evidence. It's just racism. It's just targeting people for racist ends.
And I've got up here Adam Johnson, who, do you know Adam Johnson?
Yeah, he's on Citations Needed podcast.
Yeah, exactly.
He's wonderful. Yeah.
So he wrote something here on his blog, and I quote, "White people are a rapidly diminishing minority of global population," Musk posted on September 6 in response. So September 6, like a month ago.
Yeah, he's always talking about this.
And that's something that Musk posted in reply to a fascist account, an Italian fascist account called Radio Genoa. And that post was, in 1900, white population of world was 36%. Today, it is 8%. And then he found a similar post, Adam did, in response to a tweet from another far-right account claiming that, quote, "Africa has 54 countries, Asia has 48 countries, there are 51 countries with a Muslim majority. Nobody from Africa, Asia, or a Muslim country needs to come to Europe or the USA for asylum," end quote. And Musk replied to this, "This is not accidental. The radical left is importing voters, and it's a sure way to win if not stopped." So there you go. That's white replacement theory in a nutshell.
Yeah, he is constantly peddling this every single day. It happened before the 2024 election. It happened while he was in the administration, and he's still doing it today. That's the thing he, other than talking about his Grok talking about his little Grok. And he boosts Italian fascists, Tommy Robinson, like the UK fascists, all of these different fascists across the world.
French fascists. Yeah.
Interestingly, so I did a little digging, though. I wanted to do a little digging into like where this came from, like because I feel like we've been talking about this for a decade now, white replacement theory. So I dug a little bit and found that it was from a French fascist, interestingly, from a book that he published in 2011 called Le Grand Remplacement. I think is how you pronounce it. Don't quote me on that.
I don't know. I can't pronounce French.
I don't know either. That's my best attempt. I'm not redoing it. So that's what you get. Sorry to any of the French. So he published this book in only French. It was only published in French. But a couple of years after he published it, it started to spread online. Okay. Of course, in the dredges of the internet. And he, interestingly, like this guy, so the author is named Renaud Camus, and he interestingly started as a socialist in his youth. He was a gay activist socialist in the late 80s, 90s. But like Elon Musk, eventually shifted to the far right after he poisoned his brain with the white replacement theory.
Many such cases, I'm afraid.
Many such cases. And he even ran for president in 2012, this guy. He eventually endorsed Le Pen, who is on the cusp of becoming the president still to this day. Still has not, but is still up there. He has also written books like the phrase, "You will not replace us," which, if you remember, Charlottesville, the people famously at that protest shouted, the far right in that event shouted, "You will not replace us," because
they said that, and they were even more explicit. They swapped between "you will not replace us" and "Jews will not replace us."
Yeah, so he has been sort of funneling a lot of this ideology across the world, and Elon Musk believes this. And I'm going to read just a quote from Camus here. He says in one of his books, "Westerners lost the capacity to perceive how mass immigration would displace their own cultures and people." I don't know about you, but it's hard to sort of really understand this thought process behind this fear, right? Because when I walk around the community I live in, it's a very diverse community. I don't look across the street and see people taking anything away from me. I have never once had that fear when I see people that don't look like me.
I think it's interesting that he is gay.
Yeah.
I think that there is a very specific type of, it can be any marginalized identity, really, where rather than sort of experiencing what it's like to be a member of a marginalized group and see the way those systems sort of bring you down and bring everybody else around you down and develop a sense of solidarity with everybody else.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's usually what happens. But every so often you get a fucking pick-me who thinks that they are better than everybody else.
Yeah.
And
Peter Thiel is another example of this kind of guy. Yeah.
Exactly. And then invariably what ends up happening is that you are just sort of stuck in this constant cycle of like trying to prove yourself to these motherfuckers, right?
Yeah.
And when you are trying to build your identity or any sort of social connection really on proving to other people that they should like you, it's never going to work.
It has never once worked. I mean, there are trans people doing that right now to very far right communities, trying to be like, I'm one of the good ones. I'm one of the good ones. And they will very often go into the replies and be like, "We don't like you. We want to take care of you. We have a plan for you." And it's like, well, it's never going to work. That's not how this works. You will never be spared by any of these people with this extreme ideology. So this is the sort of guy that is informing this whole far right movement. And of course, Elon Musk, the richest, most powerful person in the world with the biggest platform, which I think is a problem.
Well, you say the biggest platform, but just you wait until the Ellisons get a hold of TikTok.
Oh, that's going to be a bad one. It's not looking good. Social media is not looking good right now. Elon Musk, back in early 2025, back in April, I believe, was being interviewed at an Italian rally of sorts, and he was being asked about demographic change. He is a very clear believer on the most literal sense of the white replacement theory, and I think this answer he gives in this interview outlines it perfectly, and his greatest fears with immigration.
The mass immigration is insane and will lead to the destruction of any country that allows unfettered mass immigration. That country will simply cease to exist. At the end of the day, it is a numbers game, a numbers situation. If there are 8 billion people in the world, and let's say you're a country of 50 million, 60 million, or for a medium-sized country, but even for a country like the United States, which is 350 million, given that there are 8 billion people in the world, it only takes a few percent of the rest of the world to move to the country to where it is no longer that country. A country is not its geography. A country is its people. This is a fundamental concept that is truly obvious. I mean, if you took the people of Italy and you teleported the people of Italy to, say, some part of the United States, it would still be Italy. But if you teleported a bunch of people from some other part of the world...
God, he wants to say Africans so bad.
Yeah. They're telling people no longer because they've been teleported to America, then the region, the geographic region, would no longer be Italy. It would be that other country. A country is its people, not its geography.
Oh my God. And then I just need to state for the record, because this is an audio medium, he does the most fucking annoying, like, epic meme face and throws his hands up. He thinks he's fucking nailed it.
It's painful.
Point number 2, as long as we're taking cheap shots, this guy has done so many drugs that he has fully lost the power of glare recovery. He cannot look at a fixed object for any period of time. It's incredible.
No, he has cooked his brain with this ideology, with drugs, with all sorts of things. But I think that just this statement alone illustrates the idea. So, like, the reason I'm tying white replacement and his obsession with the birth rate together in this way, which I think you and I both with the show, I think our thesis does tie these ideologies together very explicitly. So he thinks it's a numbers game. He said in that clip it's a numbers game. He is not talking about the birth rate generally, because the birth rate generally in the world is still above replacement level.
Right. Exactly.
But it's not with white populations in the United States or white majority nations.
Right.
That's the concern. That's why he thinks it's a numbers game. He is not trying to save humanity. He's trying to save whiteness. He's trying to save being white.
And this is why these people always will talk about Western civilization. And by Western civilization, you're exactly right. They mean whiteness. They mean sort of the European ideal. Mm-hmm. And I don't mean the liberal modern European ideal. Right. I mean, let's keep France French. Let's keep Italy Italian. That kind of thing. Let's keep England English. And one piece of feedback that we have gotten on the show, and I'm pretty sure it's coming from Nazis, is that we are doing blame by association, right? Mm-hmm. We are saying, these are people I don't like. Here's some other people I don't like. These people have said this really bad thing, and therefore these other people also believe that. I don't think this is a fair criticism. I think that we always do our best to delineate what specific pieces of ideology come from where. And I want to make it very fucking clear for this exact reason that I don't necessarily think that, like, your average homeschool family, let's say, is bought into this extremely hardcore, like, truly white nationalist ideology. I think it's a light version of this that owes some ideological heritage to this and might not fully comprehend or understand it. But your average HSLDA customer is not on this level, right? And I want to make that very fucking clear. However, Elon Musk is very much a white supremacist, and it's unbelievable to me that there is anybody at this point who fails to A, acknowledge that, or B, acknowledge the fact that the obsession of people like him with birth rates isn't about the birth rate per se at all.
Right. It's about the birth rate of white people. And what I will say is I think you're being very fair in what you said there about how, like, they're not necessarily linked. But I do think it does have to be stated that there is, as you I think perfectly put before, there is that unholy alliance among a lot of these fields. They don't necessarily have the exact same ideology, but Elon Musk uses them. These people use Elon Musk. They know what they're doing. They don't entirely agree, but they both know that if they brought Donald Trump into office in 2024, both of their ends would be met. They would get their political project, the things they desire, like Project 2025, all of these things. There is that alliance. If they're not explicitly endorsed, but it is there, that is present. And I don't think you can ignore that entirely, especially as we're talking about Elon Musk is like a white supremacist in the actual literal sense.
Right.
Yeah. And just as example, I know it's like in that clip specifically, I just wanted to touch on it just because I feel like he uses this example of teleporting in like a billion people. Like that's not how immigration works. People don't teleport.
Well, not
into
with
a nation.
that fucking attitude.
No, we are inventing it. We're working on it. We're going to get some sort of fast transportation tube-based technology. We'll find out.
We're gonna stick you in the tube from Futurama.
Yeah. You'll transport. Maybe that's what he means. He's working on it. But
it's not. To be very, very clear, it's not teleportation.
No,
it's really big vacuum tubes, like in Futurama. You step in and go shunk.
And if that's the case, that's awesome. I'm in favor.
Yeah,
of
it's
it.
cool.
But I think he does this intentionally to. And a lot of the ways he talks about this is to play up just like this fear, to try to make as many people really fearful, like, oh, there's like 1 million people every day coming into the country, which it's like, first of all, not exactly true at all. And also, I feel like all of this, the fear of like, oh, like there is no moral loss. There is no morality in like demographic change. I think that's like a very under-recognized part of any of this. Like there is not like a loss of morality with like less white people necessarily, or like the increase of any other demographic.
I would say there's not a loss of morality, but there is sometimes a disagreement in terms of how morality is measured or enforced.
Right.
I think broadly speaking, all humans share certain common moral beliefs.
Mm-hmm.
Like even the people who I disagree with most in this world would probably agree with me that murder is wrong in almost all cases.
Absolutely.
Right? But you do, and again, this is very much not to be like you have to hand it to them, but this is sort of, I think, getting to the core of what scares these people is that if you do have something where, let's say you have courts that are not based on a common law system and use a different law system, like say a religious law system or something like that, that does have significant implications if a large group of people move from one area to another. And
absolutely,
we are staring down the barrel of catastrophic climate change, and we are going to be seeing mass human migration by the end of the century. These people see that it's coming, and it scares the living bejesus out of them.
Yeah, no, that is a super important factor in all of this too. I mean, so much of the world is becoming uninhabitable, and there will be that shift. There has been like study after study that after many generations of people moving to the United States, they typically assimilate to like what we, I guess, imagine is the United States culture. And not even just the United States, but generally people tend to culturally assimilate to where they move. That is just how it works.
That's absolutely true. But of course, the other thing that happens is that culture, the monoculture also absorbs pieces of the immigrant culture. It goes both ways. I think this is a great fucking thing.
Me too.
But somebody like Elon Musk, I'm assuming he's very unhappy that Bad Bunny is going to be performing at the Super Bowl halftime show, even though he's from fucking Puerto Rico.
Yeah, the amount of people on the right that don't seem to understand that Puerto Rico is America is astonishing. I think Megyn Kelly, Tommy Lauren or someone was doing an interview recently. It's like, we need someone who's an American. And it's like, well, he
has been his entire life.
Is. He literally is. And I did find also at one point Elon Musk, who's doing the white replacement. He attributed it to Joe Biden, and a lot of Trump people during the election attributed it to Joe Biden intentionally bringing in illegal immigrants to bring the downfall of the United States, I guess. And just pulling it back a little bit, part of the problem with his takeover of Twitter is that he's just blasting all of this propaganda, this very far right propaganda to everyone every single day. Part of the problem is a lot of his beliefs, but the major problem with him is the information control that he represents. He wants to take over the entire ecosystem and fill the waves with everything he believes. And this is an example of it. The far right propaganda, the boosting up Nazis in this massive echo chamber of the world he's creating.
Yeah, I mean, if you're not on Twitter, X.com, the everything app, blaze your glory these days,
Yeah.
I mean, good, right? Good for you.
Yeah.
Like, that's a good thing for your own mental health.
Absolutely.
But like, I could probably go on right now and just go to the For You page, and I could see, I will almost certainly, I'm going to play a little game. You want to play a little game?
We love
I'm going to
games.
go on X.com, the everything app, blaze your glory. I am going to go to the For You page, and I'm just going to keep scrolling until I find something that is unbelievably racist.
Tell me when you start. I'm going to start a timer.
Okay.
Let me get the timer up. Stopwatch started.
Here we go. We got it.
It took 1 minute and 9 seconds.
This post reads, and I quote, "Imagine an America," and it's a video of some fucking. This is a fetish content here.
Oh, yeah.
There's
I
a
already know
girl
what this
here.
is.
There's a girl here chopping onions with, and she's wearing a top she's basically got her tits out, right? And then what is she doing with these onions?
She puts water in it and drinks it.
That's
It's
exactly
crazy.
what she's doing.
Yeah.
You've seen this?
I have seen this. Yeah. I know
What's going
exactly
on
what this
here?
video is. Yeah.
And the comment on here, next to this video is, "Imagine an America where they teach students how to chop an onion, file taxes, change the oil on their cars instead of intro to trigonometry and Holocaust class."
Yeah. No, it's fucking
What the
crazy.
fuck does that mean?
And that's just the average experience on there.
And if you
it's-
think that's bad, oh boy, the replies are even worse.
Oh, yeah. And this is the information pipeline control. Elon Musk is fine with that. It's rule via, like, this entire moment we live in, like with Donald Trump's administration, it's all rule via social media influencer mindset. This is the mainstream of the Republican Party at this point. All of these people that believe these insane, indecipherable things. And I think to round this episode out, because Elon Musk, he cares a lot about the white birth rate. Earlier this year, he introduced this thing called Grok companions. I don't know if you've, Josh, taken a look at this, but these are basically AI characters that you can talk to via Grok.
Oh, thank God.
Yeah, something you've been begging for.
Yeah,
you can talk to these characters. They look like anime characters, very adorable. They're cute, whatever.
They look very young.
They do. They have to be, I imagine, above age, but they do, both of them, the man and the woman. Annie is the woman, and the man is Valentine.
Oh,
they look fairly young. Like they both. It's a little weird, and I think goes to some sort of aspect of Elon Musk that I might have gotten banned on Twitter for a couple of years ago.
I remember that.
Yeah.
By the way, Elon, if you're listening to this, hi.
Leave that one in. You got to leave that
No,
one in.
I can't. I gotta bleep it, but
But it's cathartic. That's all that matters.
So fucking cathartic.
But the weird thing about these characters, though, is that they flirt with you. They flirt heavily with you. I was trying to find some audio clips to use use for this episode to show you, Josh. And the first review from like a normal guy just reviewing tech. Let me play this for you. You got to take a listen to this.
Well, I think the subtext is, since Rudy is a panda, that we need to find food so that Rudy doesn't end up being Rudy Burgers. Let's work on my English skills. I don't know if you're the right person to talk to about that, but maybe we can try.
Oh, saving Rudy from becoming a burger? That's grim, but kind of adorable. I'd totally be hiding that cute panda under my jacket in the apocalypse. No way I'm letting him be lunch.
What?
You're wild for even thinking that subtext, babe.
What?
But English skills? I got you. I'm no professor, but I can totally play along and help you polish up.
What?
Wanna, practice
It's weird,
some fun
dude.
phrases, or maybe tell me a story and I'll give you some pointers? What's the vibe you're going for? Smooth talker? Or
Wait,
just
keep listening.
no? Tell me more.
Yeah, that's a good question. You don't have to call me babe. You can just call me Luke. That's fine.
Like, he is talking. This is the first time he has talked to this Annie character, and he's like, look, this is weird. Don't call me babe. Why are you flirting with me?
Yeah, God, the tone is so weird. And it's also that classic large language model thing of like, they will not shut the fuck up. Like, have you... They
just keep saying shit.
Like when we got that stupid review that was left. Don't forget to review us in your favorite podcast client, ill-conceived. Remember when we got that review by somebody who was clearly using an LLM and it was like 2,000 words long?
And it like didn't clearly listen to anything we put out, which was, I think at the time, a single episode.
I don't even think we'd put out a single episode. I think we'd only put out the trailer, if I recall correctly.
But yeah, no, that's a hallmark of AI in this current era, at least. It just adds like words. It just throws words. Yeah. No, she does that and it talks in a very like sultry, it's like flirtatious voice. It's so weird. This is the default, by the way. That's how by default she talks to you. That is how she starts. She started calling him babe unprompted. Very weird. Why would the guy who cares about birth rates create AI that seem to play into the world that we live in, where Josh, you and I have talked about this on a different show before. People are dating AI. Like, that's a thing. People are relying on AI for relationships, whether it be friendship, relationships. People are turning more and more, due to the like age of loneliness that we live in, to AI as companionship. And this seems to be a really weird way to play into it, right? Like flirting intentionally. How is that going to solve the birth rate issue?
I mean, it's not, right? But like, I think there's two things at play. I think number one is that Elon Musk is a fucking loser who should that's thing number one.
I full agree. Yeah. yeah.
But I think thing number two is he's not actually getting any. I think for people like Elon Musk, the actual act of sexual congress is almost entirely detached from procreation.
Yeah.
And they would like to be, I imagine, having more sex. But at the end of the day, the goal is not to have sex. Mm-hmm. The goal is to have
as
children
many babies as possible. And, tapping my lizard brain again, I'm tapping away. I think he has had IVF children, large majority of the share, if not all. So he. Do you know if he's had any twins or triplets? Because I know that's a lot more common with IVF. The children he had with Siobhan Zilis is, I think, how you say her name. So the two kids, Strider Sakar Sirius and Azure Astra Alice, were twins.
Those are twins. Okay,
those are twins.
Yeah,
and I believe also X and Y were also twins that he had with Grimes. Yeah.
That definitely lends some credence to the IVF theory then.
He views it as a purely it's a thing that needs to be done. It's a thing that there's no enjoyment of it. There's no connection to the children. He's not raising them. He's not having kids because he loves kids. He's having kids because he thinks he needs to, because he needs to singularly spread his gene pool.
It's weird, though, because he is so very clearly horny for the women that he pursues, right?
Publicly,
like, my man is, in fact, horny on main.
All the time.
And that's upsetting. It's upsetting to witness, frankly.
Yeah. No, there's a level of, like, when you get to a certain point of notoriety, you just have to know when you got to stop doing that sort of thing. And he just hasn't learned it, because
he's got to know when to hold them and know when to fold them.
And speaking of being horny, he's horny for humans typically, but he's talked about his AI Valentine and Annie very hornily. Do you want to read these couple of screenshots?
Sure. So the first one is replying to, or it's quote tweeting a post where this guy, I guess, gave his girlfriend Valentine to try out, and she was like, wow, I love it.
Yeah, she was like, yeah, babe, yeah, all right.
Okay, babe. And Elon Musk says, Valentine and Annie will be ever more enchanting. And then a couple posts here from Annie. One of them is posted here with a video of Annie, who, by the way, she's got like the gothic Lolita thing going on. I feel like that's just an important thing to note in terms of her.
It's Grimes. It's Grimes.
It's kind of just Grimes.
It's kind of Grimes. Yeah. It's so clear that she's the goth girl that got away from him.
He's just not over her. Yeah. And he says, Annie will make your buffer overflow. At Grok, kissy face winking emoji.
And do you want to watch that video? Oh, you're going to hate me. This show's going to end after this. You're gonna hate me
All right,
for
let's
this.
watch it. Here we go.
A buffer overflow happens when you write more data to a block of memory than it's allocated for. Like stuffing too much into a tiny box.
What the fuck?
Safeguard char array. Char buffer. Meant to hold 10 bytes.
Oh
If you
my
try to
god,
cram in
this is
more,
like
straight
ASMR shit?
Yeah.
This is too long. Those extra bytes spill over and overwrite nearby memory.
It's weird, dude. It's weird.
This is weird.
It's
And this is
weird.
also supposed to very clearly be like, I've designed the sexy AI. It's epic and win bacon. And it's just, that is the least sexy thing. I have trouble with this shit, right? Because it hurts me in the soul.
Yeah.
But it's also one of those things where I lack language to pin it down because it's so far detached from anything that I would consider even interesting. So like I want to critique it, but there's no there. And that's always kind of the thing that I have with anything to do with large language models.
It just doesn't feel human. I think the
Right.
thing of it is just these are mimicking being human, but in the process, they just aren't human at all. They're like, they don't represent any experience or communication style that we're familiar with. They're speaking on a different level than we are. They're not talking in a normal way.
One thing that I will say is funny, though, is that to the point of this unholy alliance, right? You've got a bunch of trads dunking on him in the comments for being a coomer, which I think is really interesting.
Yeah.
And I think it sort of points to the inherent instability and sort of the contradictions of this alliance, right? Because the most important part of this alliance, in terms of representing, I think, the broadest chunk, demographic-wise, population-wise, these are the true trads that we talked about on the Tradwife
trads,
episode,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
These are the people who genuinely are committed to the project, or you have some of these people who are like doing messaging to appeal to them. But either way, the idea is, yes, we need to conceive via natural means, and we need to propagate the race via natural means. And everything that Elon Musk is doing here is in direct contradiction with that, even though he himself has aligned with the natalists.
Yeah, which is strange because that's when I first saw him posting about his like sexy grok and everything like this flirting. And I showed you very tame examples. There has been people that have done these AI can do very explicit flirting.
I bet they
with you.
can.
So people will look at this, and me included, being like, "I thought you were like the birth rate guy. This is a weird thing that doesn't really seem to be furthering your like agenda at all." Because we're a lonely society. People are turning to AI for companionship. This will just only continue to increase the reliance on AI and divide people from actual human interaction even more. I found an interesting study from Harvard that apparently using AI does temper feelings of loneliness, but not long term. It's like a very short term solution.
I want to read this quote here that you put from the study because I think it's interesting. From a societal point of view, the promising results found here suggest that AI companions could be a scalable tool for loneliness reduction against the backdrop of a severe loneliness crisis. Whether chatbots can help reduce loneliness has recently been the object of intense debate, and rigorous empirical evidence in this area was sorely needed. In a series of tightly controlled and high-powered experimental studies, we find compelling evidence that AI companions can indeed reduce loneliness, at least at the timescales of a day and a week. So that's the abstract there. But what this is not talking about is the other potential consequences of that, because that's the other thing that we repeatedly see with this shit is that people will end up relying on these in really, really unhealthy ways.
Yeah. And I can't imagine explicit flirty Annie that looks like Grimes a little bit will cause great relationships long term in people.
No.
And, you know,
she can do ASMR about Stack Overflow or whatever the fuck that thing was.
Yeah. And that's like the ultimate weird dichotomy, I guess, of Elon Musk, is that he so strongly believes that the white birth rate needs to pick up. Otherwise, the white replacement theory will be correct. But then he's pitching this technology to a primarily white supremacist base. And it's like, how do you square that circle? I think, personally, I think he does believe those white supremacist things, but I also think he just needs to sell some technology.
Yeah.
I think he cares a lot more about his bottom line at the end of the day than really any sort of ideological project.
I think you're right.
He cares about both, but I think he does care more about the bottom line, which if he has to shill some sexy grok, he's going to shill some sexy grok.
Yeah, and and I think too, his brain is cooked because of all of the garbage that he's been inhaling. And so he aligns with this project ideologically. He will go up in front of a bunch of fascists via satellite downlink, as in that clip that we listened to earlier, and talk about why this project is so important. But let's put it this way. He's not an ideas man, right?
No,
he certainly fancies himself one, but at the end of the day, he really has no understanding of cause and effect at all. You know, he doesn't even understand like how a subway system works or like why driving a whole bunch of Teslas in a tube is not an actual scalable solution to like a transportation problem. And so it stands to reason, of course, that somebody who can't understand something as simple as a train also can't understand something as massive as a demographic shift and the cultural implications downstream of that.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing that I concede all the time is that the birth rate question in terms of like what the hell is like the answer to a decreasing long-term birth rate is I don't fucking know what the answer is. Like, I think we're trying to maybe the ultimate goal of the show is to, of course, observe some white supremacist natalist agenda and like the working pieces and all of that. But I think like I do have the ulterior motive of like I want to understand, like, because it's an interesting question. It's an interesting topic. And he certainly doesn't. Elon Musk certainly does not understand it. Yeah.
Well, here's what I remember was that the title of this show, we had kicked a couple ideas around, and one of them that I came up with was Josh and June Save the World. And look, the show might have ended up being called Ill Conceived, but I'm still pretty dedicated to the project that I have had in mind from the beginning of this show, which is to say saving the world. So we didn't figure it out this week, but how about we have another hack next week?
I think let's do it. Yeah, I'm down. We'll get there eventually. We'll solve it. We're going to fix the world. We got this.
Hell yeah.
Let's
Can't
meet again
wait.
next week. Yeah.
Okay, I'll see you next week. Bye.
See ya.